To increase the odds of your success, send a contract to every sales meeting we schedule for you. It's easy to send a contract to somebody who wants to buy right now. It's not easy to send it to somebody who isn't moving forward right now. If you send them a contract, though, you're going to set the expectation that you're easy to work with, you're transparent, and you're attentive to them. It's a precursor and a forecast of what your service level will be like. A quick quote now means quick service later. A long drawn out sales process now means a long drawn out service process later. Your competition does not want to send a contract to somebody who isn't signing now. They're putting themselves at a disadvantage. When they go on that meeting and don't give the prospect a contract, they're going to miss that sale a year from now because you gave them a contract today, and Arsenal will have been following up and nurturing that opportunity for 12 months.
The most recent deal closed for us was $5,000 MRR. It was a company that we had gotten an appointment scheduled by Arsenal with over a year ago, and we had some great meetings with them. Then they kind of just fell off the face of the earth. It turns out that they got an internal IT guy that they thought was going to work out a little bit better. And when it wasn't anymore, Tanner was still reaching out to them, trying to get them back on the phone. Finally, they told us that they weren't no longer happy with their internal resource and that they wanted to talk again, and we were able to close the deal.
I closed the deal for my client down in Sarasota. I was with a construction company. I talked with the owner back in November 2024, so it was a longer process. But when I originally talked to them, they were having some Wi-Fi issues, kind of handling it internally, but they didn't have anybody dedicated to it. So we set up an in-person meeting. It went great. My client loved it. Had a lot of potential, but from there, things just went dark. We couldn't get back in contact with them. I always tried following up, but just never heard anything back. And then one afternoon, as things were kind of dying down for the day, I got a call, and it was from the owner of the construction company. They had brought it internal, actually, hired an actual IT director, and it just didn't work out. That person was up in Tennessee, and they needed somebody, closer in proximity, and also with more expertise in their industry. So we got my client and the owner connected again for an in-person meeting. It went even better, and it closed pretty quickly. I think it was like a week after they met for that second time, and we closed a $5,000 MRR deal, $60,000 annual reoccurring, and a lifetime value of $300,000. So love to get that done for my client, and can't wait to see what happens with the next one.
People often ask about sales cycle and MSPs. I think without looking it up, I would easily say that 6 to 8 months. We drop a lot of quotes, we drop a lot of proposals, we have a lot of conversations, and more often than not, I think you feel like those are dead in the water. And the biggest sales tactic in our industry, or the biggest closer anyways, is being there when it all goes wrong and being there in the moment where it's needed. We've seen, I don't think this, and I've told Aaron this, I don't think this is going anywhere, and he'll stay on them, and a couple months down the line, they want to talk again, and it's right place, right time.
Got an interesting call from my client out in Reno earlier this week. We actually closed another deal. This was a deal that had taken almost a year or so in the making. We actually scheduled this appointment initially in July of 2025, and we did not hear from him for 3 or 4 months. We finally heard back from him, and got out there. Sounded pretty promising. He was ready to kind of sign up for us. They're a construction company, so they do a lot of cabling projects. He said that they were pretty, spread thin when it came to their vendor projects. So wanted somebody reliable to be able to help out with that kind of thing. We got a call last Friday that he had been spoofed by an email impersonating an employee, and it actually sent them over $40,000. So he immediately called my client to say, "Hey, I am ready to sign it right now." So we started kind of going through their email servers and setting up some of our protection So it turned out to be a solid closed deal. It's very unfortunate that it happened that way. And honestly, I wish that, we would have been able to start working with him months and months ago. So we could have maybe mitigated something like this happening. But as it stands, we closed that deal for $2,916 for a monthly recurring, about $35,000 annually recurring with a $175,000 lifetime value. So very excited that we finally got that deal closed. It was always very promising and unfortunately had to become a lot more pressing around that time, but excited that it closed and hopefully we see some more.
We go on site, we build a very nice custom bespoke proposal to that situation, to that deal. We get as much face time as we possibly can to build the relationship, and then we nurture the proposal through until it can get to a close. So if they need service, if they need anything, we're going to be there to service that account. And then when it's time for them to buy, we're going to be in the perfect position to convert it to a sale. And sometimes these processes, they take 3 months, sometimes they take 2 years. The purpose is you just want to stay in front of them and really kind of be a consultant for them. And then when it's time to buy, you're in the right spot.
Closed a deal for our guys up in Fargo. I spoke with the new maintenance director for this resort facility, said that there was no current issues, but they were looking at a few re-roof projects, lots of different buildings, total to about a little over 100,000 square feet. So they had a few contractors out there, but wanted us to come out to quote it for them. Got over to them around November. Got him quote for about $60,000 repair as well as a $70,000 re-roof. Didn't hear back from him for a while. They actually reached back out to us about 9 months later, just this past month. Closed the deal with the re-roof for him. It was about $79,415. Excited to get some more closed deals for our guys up in Fargo.
Closed another deal with my roofer in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm getting close to $1 million together, just inching our way closer and closer with each deal. But it was with a public university. I called them back in April. They didn't have the funds, but their roof was about 5 years past the warranty expiring. So we went out and quoted them on a coating job. The quote ended up being around $72,000. And we thought it might have been dead for a little while, but they actually came back to us when they had some funds freed up at the end of the year. And it ended up closing for $89,450. So heck of a way to end 2025. Very fitting for the year we had together, and look forward to the next ones in 2026.
And they're under contract, they're busy, they don't have time to do it. I mean, some of these appointments I've already been on that we haven't closed yet, that I've sent bids on, I may close them 6 months from now. This is how this business works. It's just, you gotta work with the company on when they're available, and their budgets and things like one, they crush glass and turn it into material to use in sandblasters. He's probably going to go with us to high dusting job, about $30,000, but he's waiting on his yearly budget before he can make that decision. And I'll probably get something out of him within the next 2 or 3 months.
My commercial janitorial cleaning client just closed a deal earlier this month. This deal is with a power plant, and I started calling on this record in early September. Was having couple different points of contact throughout September. Finally got in touch with their O&M manager. Was trying for the maintenance manager, but got him on the line, and he agreed to get a initial appointment set up, more of just kind of an introductory meeting, just to take on an additional bid and see how we compared in pricing. And it seemed like a pretty good meeting, but we hadn't heard anything from them for about a month. So I reached back out to the O&M manager, and he actually told me that they were not going to go through with the deal. So I got back in touch with my client, and we kind of moved on. The O&M manager actually reached back out to my client in the beginning of November and asked if we could add on some cleaning for the windows, keep it at the same price, and my client agreed. So we were able to close that deal. The deal closed for $780 monthly recurring revenue, which is just over $9,300 in annual recurring revenue. And over the course of 5 years, this would be just under $47,000. Looking forward to closing some more deals for my clients.
Just got word back from my Akron HVAC client. We just closed an annual maintenance plan. So I reached out to a local hotel in the area. I spoke to the general manager, who let me know he had a few RTUs that were leaking, and he also had some VTAC units that he was looking to get a maintenance contract on. So I was able to set up that initial appointment to make an introduction and provide him those quotes. So the initial meeting went well. My client was able to meet with the prospect. They walked around the building, gathered the equipment list that was needed, and we were able to leave him with a few quotes for repairs as well as an annual maintenance agreement. After we left the prospect with the proposals, we began the follow-up process, and immediately the prospect was unresponsive from the start. We texted and called him over the course of a few weeks with no response. But since we left him with a proposal, I continued to follow up, and 2 months later, we were finally able to get a hold of the prospect, and he apologized for not getting back to us as he was not in a position to buy at the time of the initial meeting, but he was ready now, and so we set up a second time appointment to go over the proposal and get that one signed. We ended up meeting with the prospect again, and he signed off on 2 of our quotes. The first one was to replace a unit that came out to $4,900 total, and the second one was for an annual maintenance plan that came out to just under $7,500 a year. We were really happy that this one ended up getting closed. Even though the prospect wasn't ready to buy on the initial meeting, we still left him with a proposal and began the follow-up process. And eventually we were able to get back in touch with him when the timing was right and get this one closed.
So we had quoted my client in Arkansas. We had quoted this company. It's a plastic surgery place, like 20 computers, 25 computers. It's like $3,600 or something like that. Nice. I forget. I'd have to look at the proposal again, but yeah, like $3,600 back in October.
Sure.
Really wanted to work with us. We work with a lot of similar companies as them in Arkansas, and she really liked us. Communication was good, and then just slowly fell off over the coming months. She was really hard to get in touch with. She finally got back to me in April. So this was like 7 months later after we had already proposed.
Did she ghost you?
She ghosted us for this long. And like, I was so consistent. Like, I knew the gatekeeper so well. And every time I called, she'd be like, she'd laugh and like, she just missed her, or like whatever. Anyways, I say all this to say, she told us in April that she was like, hey, I apologize. I should have got back to you. I'm so sorry. We're going to stick with who we have for now, but follow up with me. And of course, following the process, proposal was out. I have follow-up dates. And so this was in April. So I started calling her back again in July. Called the office twice this month. Didn't reach her, of course. Talked to the gatekeeper who knew me. And she followed up with an email. Like, she had replied to my email from April and was like, hey, Miles, I know we had met you in the past. You'd gotten a proposal. She's like, we decided to stick with our company because, we were going to give them, like, we felt like we had to be loyal to them. We were going to give them another shot, but we're dealing with the same issues. She's like, we're looking at this again. I think it's time for you to come back out. We want an updated quote. And if we move forward, I think this is the perfect time. So do follow-ups.
That's so good.
Do your follow-ups.
I actually had...
This was 3 months ago. Like, the lady told us no 3 months ago. We're sticking with our company. So a ton can change in less than 90 days.
That's so good, because it's the nature of what we do. Like, other people who do what we do convince that lady to meet right the hell now, and she's not ready to do it. And we're so confident in what we do. Miles can let that one alone, go find some other stuff. And in the meantime, this one's cooking in the background.
I'm following up. I'm calling every quarter, and I did. And I didn't even talk to her. She just got my message that I had, called through the main line and emailed me.